evening, everybody. It's Sunday night at 10 p.m. and this is the APAT show. Tonight with guest host, none other than Dan Williams. Dan, how are you?
Very, very well. Apologies to those out there. I'm slightly shorter than the usual co-host.
Oh, I will deal with that. But listen, talking about our usual co-host, Leigh, I mean, he didn't share it much with us over the last few weeks. We barely knew. But by all accounts, he's in Las Vegas. Lost Vegas, right? Lost wages. Call it what you will. But Leigh is over in Vegas. And I have to say, guys, super news. We can bring Leigh in live now. Let's do it. Oh, there he is.
Evening all. How are we doing?
Well, it's good to know they've got the trust in me. I've not even got on yet, and you're here, just in case. Is that for me or for Des? I don't know.
I'm just here as backup, Dan, just in case it all went horribly wrong. Yeah.
Leigh is a guest. You are the anchor man. I say anchor man, right?
Yeah.
You
Silent
are the top. And listen, can I tell you, we hope to do some interesting things with Leigh. This should be a really interesting little spot. But when Leigh departs off to do the sort of things that you do in Las Vegas, we've got a whole host of interesting things to discuss, you and I. So we'll come back to those. But Leigh, tell us. Where are you, my friend? We know you're in Vegas, but where specifically are you?
I am bang slap in the middle of the Paris Ballroom in Vegas, right where all of the World Series of Poker action is. I've managed to get into the room because it is absolute carnage in here today. It is the mini main event that started at 10 o'clock this morning, Vegas time, so about 4 hours ago. I dropped the ball and have not even registered for this. And I took a look at the queues and just decided, there's other poker to play, so I'm not going to worry. But pretty much everybody that is out here, I think, is probably playing this today. The queues are just insane. It's been busy all week. It really, really has. But today is like nothing else I've seen. As I say, I wandered in here down the hallway thinking, let's see if I can get, they'll let me in. And you had to go right down to the very far door. That's the only one they're letting you in. They've got security managing all the lines, and they're literally double queuing outside of the ballroom, wrapped around both of the hallways. It's absolute carnage. So what I was going to aim to do was just give you a feel for what's going on here, and then hopefully I'm going to try and do a walkthrough from here and walk through to the horseshoe. Fantastic. And show you, because they're not just playing this mini main here, they're playing it over in the horseshoe as well. And then also we can also have a quick look at the TV, the TV room and the tables that are going on there. So that's what I'm hoping to do. But let me flick my my camera around, and then I can just start it. First of all, obviously this carpet you've got to check out, because I know Simon.
Oh, I tell you what, look, he's already. Let's see if I can get rid of these. There you go. Need a carpet shot, Leigh. From the. I've got to do it, Leigh. I've got to do it.
Yeah.
I tell you what.
But that's how crazy this is. But literally every table. So they've got cash. So the green area, for those of you that are at, you will know that they've got cash tables at the green area. Well, all of these at the moment have got this mini main tournament going on in it. So they're absolutely jam-packed. I was playing on those tables in the Super Turbo Bounty the other day. They're not the greatest tables. The seats are really comfortable, but actually, because they've got the cash chip section in it as well, they're not great for the dealers to be dealing tournament poker in. But yeah, as far as the eye can see, there is people sat playing this mini main tournament today. Currently, let's get it out to the screen. The buy-in was $1,000, so that's what they were playing for this one today. They said they're at level 8, so the guys are going to break in 23 minutes, and I tell you, I am not going to be on this call in 23 minutes time. As 4,800 odd players stampede towards the restrooms. But there you go. That's where the clock.
It's interesting because obviously I was there a couple of weeks ago now. And I was sat just on yellow 221, which is I can just see in the corner there on the right hand side. And the queue for the 600 deep stack was so that was literally my seat where that lovely lady is. But the queue for that 600 was out the door all the way up to the joint. For those that don't know, obviously Paris and the Horseshoe are kind of two separate card rooms that they've linked together, and they're in like an L shape to kind of get from corner to corner. And the queue was all the way out and back.
Let me show you. Right.
So I remember this. Yeah. Well,
here's the late registration line, right? So this lady here is doing a sterling job. So basically, they queue all the way down there.
Bloody hell!
Right, and they go then all the way over to they go all the way over to that far corner there.
Sweet Jesus.
They then go all the way down to that desk there. Then they back up on themselves again and go all the way back to that corner, all the way back to that door at the very far end. And then they're out the door. Then they basically go all the way down that hallway, all the way down that hallway. And I'll tell you what we'll do, because we've probably done enough in Paris. What I'll do, I'll wander down there and show you quite where the line treks all the way down. So that's the King's cash. That's the high stakes cash area in there, which is a pretty cool place to be playing poker.
What time is it there, Lee?
We are now at 2:10.
I was going to say, I know that they said that the late reg queue, everybody that registered after the start time, they basically turned away and said, "Don't come back till 1 o'clock." Which
so to give you an answer, so that line has gone out of that door up there, wrapped all the way around there, all the way down this corridor. All right, so they're queuing all the way down to the end of that corridor. Then they're wrapping back up on themselves again, and then they go all the way back down. So we'll have a go at wandering. But it's like like the queue in London when the Queen.
Lee, you've got it. You got it wrong, mate. I haven't seen a queue like that since the first buffet at APAT Scotland in Edinburgh, right? The Maybury, 2007, mate. It was a bit like that for the sausage rolls. Insane.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll wander all the way down. So they're double. Actually, they're now triple queued here. I don't even know what queue I'm staking in between here, but this is just absolutely nuts.
Do you want to make an announcement that it's full, Lee? Just say, sorry, lads, they've just said it's full.
Did Philip Schofield manage to jump the queue?
Right. Yeah, he's playing in red, table 6. Yeah. So this is just so this is literally snaking away 3 different ways here. Yeah. And then so they're basically after the snaking all there, that's then the queue where they're getting across into that room down there. So that's what the 2 security here are doing to allow people to walk, like me, to walk through. So there's the famous WF sign. Anyway, right. So if you're playing in, let me quickly switch back onto me a second. So if you're playing in Paris, and normally most of the day ones start there, but sometimes they'll ask you to kind of bag up chips and move to Horseshoe. So if you do that, you bag your chips up, and this is where you go, right? So
let's do it. Let's do it.
So we're going to off. So you're gonna head out of the Paris ballroom area, and what we'll do is before we do leave this, we'll do a quick turn back for you so you can see the lovely entrance.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
As you make your way,
there you go.
As you make your way into there we go. So as you make your way back in, but so basically. Paris and Horseshoe are right next to each other. Obviously, Horseshoe used to be Bally's.
You've got to walk out here with your chips.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Yeah. You're all in a line with your chips, and you're not allowed to leave anybody. It's like we used to go on those school trips. Yeah.
There's a bloke on the front with like a flag.
Yeah.
That lady there's holding on to that guy to make sure he doesn't run off at security.
Yeah,
they're not together.
Absolutely. So basically, this is a little bit in between Paris and Horseshoe. Lovely new sports kitchen here, Des, that's only opened up this week. It's Guy Fieri. How do you pronounce his surname? Furi's. Yeah. So his new Flavor Town Vegas sports kitchen. Yeah. And that has only just opened. That only opened up this week. So I think it was Thursday morning that opened up. So so you're going to head all the way down here, and then you enter Horseshoe. And they've relayed the carpet in Horseshoe in the main casino. So I hope Simon's ready for this.
It can't be anything like the last one, Lee.
Oh, this is beautiful what they've done with this.
Oh, it's less noisy though. It's less LCD like. Beautiful.
Look at the horseshoes. Look at the horseshoes in this.
Absolutely. Big horses in Vegas.
Very nice. That's all been relayed. There's also a little bit of work being done out the front of the hotel as well. So basically, so you're going to head up, and you've basically got to work your way through wind through some of these slots to get yourself over to the walkway. Once you do, hopefully I'm still with you, and we're all good.
Lee, if you could just run through all of these people shouting at the top of your lungs, "He called me with Jack 9." If you could do that for me, please.
Yeah.
Jack Nine. They call me with Jack Nine.
You know very well when I'm on one of these again and doing somewhere live, I won't accept any of your requests. I don't fall for it. So
this is true.
That's not the case. True. So basically, yes. So we're now heading towards the horseshoe ballroom. So again, you get a nice little welcome.
This is like bringing back terrible memories. So just as you go up now on the left hand side is the Poker News office, where obviously I was based while I was there. And the amount of times I came out and could just hear people telling their bad beat stories, I just had to turn back and shut the door myself. I'm just waiting 5 more minutes. But
yeah, so there's the WSOP media. So you've got there, and you've got these machines. These fast track machines are brilliant. So if you use the Bravo app to buy in our Lawrence Wilker suit, hey, how about that?
9 high like a.
I hope he's not carrying chips.
Yeah. Didn't look like
because he was walking.
No. So the fast track booths are brilliant. So if you registered online, you can just go to one of those, scan your rewards card, and basically print your ticket. So absolutely superb.
Wow. Yeah.
I've used that all week so far, and it's been brilliant. But even for this one, and I was up early this morning, and you couldn't register. I mean, it was just absolutely nuts. So basically, this is now the horseshoe.
Going to the light, Lee.
And
going to the light.
As you can see, there's a queue here as well.
Wow, bloody hell!
So there's registration queues here as well, and this will be snaking round as well.
Simon has asked, are more people queuing than playing? I mean, how do they get all of these people in?
It probably isn't a million miles away. Interestingly, there are spare tables here, so I'm not quite sure what's going on here, but let's see if we can get us past some fun. There we go, a bit of the spots where I can. So it looks like red and orange are full of the. Let me just step out this way. This chap with his pooch. Can go through. Lots of dogs around the casinos, which is I quite like that. It's quite nice. So So looks like red and orange are being used for the is that the Colossus? I think that's Colossus Day 2 going on here. By the looks of it. Looking at the screens. Yes, that makes sense. Colossus Day 2, which has got 790 runners left in it. There. And then over the far side is the Mega Sack, so the main event, which is the green. Is the green clock, and then there's another main event satellite. So it looks like all of those across there are main event satellites by the looks of it. So they might have moved most of the mini main now back into Paris. Possibly they might have started from here and now. I'd say I know Adam was playing in silver, so we'll head up in red. So this is basically where a lot of the day twos will play. So as you can see, the Colossus is still going on there. But what we'll do is we're going to take a wander through. Trying to avoid any guards security that lags on, start asking what you're doing, and it's best if you can just deny all.
You mean to tell me you've not got the all access media pass for APAT?
Oh, just
I've got one in my bag. You should have said I'd have lent it.
Damn.
What you do, you walk. Dan will tell you. You walk into this room and the noise goes down. So they've got a lovely little setup here if you want to get your photo with
nice.
With a little bit of money. So that's quite nice. So
Lee, just before you go in, what are your thoughts on this room? Tell me how you feel about this new sort of Thunderdome setup, because I'm trying to think now. There's probably like 100 what I would call loose tables around the outside, and then you've got 1, 2, is it 4 stages now? 4 stages. And to me, I watched 2 or 3, and the atmosphere didn't feel the same as before. It felt much more subdued.
Yes, it is. It is. You do walk in here, and it does feel very, very quiet, depending on what's going on. So let me just have a quick look at some clocks and see if I can work out what's happening here. Right. So looks like the silver area here.
Should have the ladies.
It's got the mini main in it, by the looks of it. Yeah. So all of these tables here are playing the mini main, same as they're playing in Paris. And
I'd imagine
over the
deuce to 7. I'm trying to think what's on. Ladies' final table should be in there. So should the deuce to 7 10K, and maybe the 50K.
There's a mixed big bet.
Yeah.
Event number 73. That's got 376 runners left in it.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on here, by the looks of it. And then there's nothing on the main feature, the CBF feature, but there is action on a couple of the outer tables. Let's see if we can work out what's going on here. Looks like they're down to 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, 5 or 6 there, possibly on that. Can't see a clock at the moment. Oh, I can't.
Is this the main one, Lee?
It's the high roller PLO.
Okay.
Yeah.
On that one.
But is that the main stage or is that the second stage?
No. That's a secondary stage.
That's the second stage.
You've got a second. Yes, you've got a secondary stage to the right, and you've got a secondary stage to the left. Can you see that over the far side?
Yeah.
And there's 3 of them left in that, and then over the top,
you got the main one.
See it is the main, which has got nothing on it at the moment. But there's also a 4th one, which is here, which is the ladies' final.
Got it.
And it's got, look at the rail here. Huge rail going on.
Yeah, awesome.
Following this, with the ladies playing the final on here, which is a nice setup for them. And the players are in, those that are railing are really nice and close to get to do it. So this is the ladies' final. At the moment, they're down to 7. All the media guys doing their stuff. Let's try and see if I can work out what's going on with this one. Can't quite see the plot.
I would imagine that two of those tables have probably got the 50k PLO because they're on the. I think they're 10-handed. Well, there's 10 players left, so they're probably playing 5 and 5.
Well, that's weird because they're playing. Well, there's only 3 left on this one, Dan. So I'm not sure what they're playing here, but there's only 3 left. I can't. They've literally got the world's tiniest clock.
Oh, that'll be that's the Deuce to 7 10Ks. That's ODB, Chris Brewer, and Livingston. The final 3 in that one.
Does that look?
Chris Brewer again. Wow.
All information found from pokernews.com.
Absolutely.
And all reputable poker media outlets. Yeah,
and the other ones, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's another little table over here.
Is that for Tiny Sit and Goes?
Going here, I reckon. Yeah, I reckon I can get her too. So, but the idea is, I guess, what I do like is I like the fact that there's more. They've got more of these now because it means if you are on a final table, it can give you make sure you're guaranteed a little bit of an experience of being on a final table, not just being stuck somewhere. Because of course the trouble is they've got 4, 5, 6 events on the go at any one time. So and you never quite know when they're all going to finish. And obviously we had the great joy of railing on Friday. One of the guys from LPPL at the final amazing, table, didn't he? The deep stack.
8th, Paul.
Yeah, incredible. Paul, Himmarsh, who finished for 32,000. Never played anything other than pub poker. Never played anything other than pub poker in his life. First time he played a tournament, won it through playing the pub with Tom and the guys, and was out here. Fantastic. And a joy to chat to. I got introduced to him the night before. So they played the final day, and really nice chap. So down to earth, and just really chuffed for him. Absolutely incredible. So so this is so this is kind of the TV area, and obviously when we get down to the bigger tournament main event, it's going to get so buzzed. You can see all the seats up behind. That you can sit there and watch them. It does look like they're setting up possibly for a final table to be going on there at some point.
I have to say, Lee, having be the case. Having been at the World Series of Poker like many years ago and seen it down at Binion's and stuff like that, I mean the amount of investment that is going into particularly the publicity machine around it, absolutely insane. Dan would know a lot about that too, coming from a poker news point of view. The amount of money involved outside of just prize pools and stuff is insane. Big shout out to Poker Go as well, right? Because I can see their branding is carried far and wide, both on the tables, and you can see it across the room there. They've invested very heavily in the streaming. They're streaming as many of the mixed games as they are Hold'em games, which can only be good for the game generally. And, I pay my, whatever it is, $14 or $9 or whatever it is a month over the summer to get all of the World Series of Poker stuff live. You might only watch it once or twice a week, but it's there if you have time. Just out of fair play, given the access that you've had there. Guys, if you want to watch this stuff, go to pokergo.com, take out a sub, take it out for 3 months. I mean, they'll give you a better deal for 12 months. But go watch it, enjoy it. It wasn't like this in the olden days, I can tell you that.
No, it's so much more accessible now. I like it, and I actually really like. I mean, I've been out here. I'm fairly late to kind of Vegas, I guess. coming out for events. But I came out my first 2 trips when it was at the Rio. My recent 2 last year and this year have been when it's here, and I much prefer it in Paris and the Horseshoe. I think the setup is nice if you've got that little walk through when you need to, but it's not often they do actually move players between the 2 in the middle of a tournament. Yeah. Sometimes you'll finish in Paris and then you'll basically be redrawn into Horseshoe for the following day if you're bagging up chips. So it's never really too much of an issue. It's close enough. It's nice, but the numbers are just off the charts. They really are. It's been quite incredible, and I would be shocked if the main event doesn't smash the record. Amazing. The ladies event broke its record, and I'd be amazed if that isn't the case.
So Leigh, let's see you again. Come back to us. Oh, look at that!
Yeah.
Look at that! The big sign. There he is.
We go.
There he is. So beautiful walkthrough. Thank you very much, Leigh. Tell me, who have you been talking to out there? Who have you met with? Saw a brilliant picture of you with Natalie at the basketball yesterday, I want to say. Saw a picture of you, I think, with Stu Rutter and Adam. You were presumably out for dinner or something like that.
Presumably that was with Rob. Well, no, that was with Rob. That was when we were waiting to play the Colossus actually, and we were on a 2-hour wait. I mean, there have been some problems out here with the numbers. They've had some issues with dealers, and I've played 4 comps so far this week, and 2 of them have been delayed. One for 40 minutes and one for 2 hours before we even got started. So yeah, they've been managing the situation off. I don't think you can get too bothered about it. So that just is the way it is. But yeah, yesterday went to see the Las Vegas Aces, who are the reigning world champions. Although I think that's just the American league. So, but they call themselves world champions, and that works, isn't it? So yeah, got to see that up at Mandalay Bay at the Michelob Arena up there. Amazing. I mean, if you can go and see some basketball, you can get in there for $10 if you want to watch a game of basketball for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
It was insane. So much skill level, the power that these athletes, just incredible to watch up close, and they're a really good side to watch at the moment. So if you fancy something a little bit different, the women's basketball, you cannot go wrong for 2 hours of entertainment. They get serious, but there were plenty of seats, so you could get in and get to that if you want to. Other than that, just being said, been out at breakfast with Mr. Brady, at dinner with Mr. Brady, and keeping up with him. I've obviously met a bunch of the guys that are out on trips. Saw the tower the other day and had a brief chat with him, and caught up with him. He's out here pretty much at the same time I am.
He's playing the mini main, right?
Mini main at the moment.
Yeah,
he is, with Grosvenor putting him into that. So Paul flies out on Monday, so looking forward to that. That means I switch across to the Horseshoe. So I've been in Planet Hollywood for the first week, so I'll be over in the Horseshoe for the rest of the trip. So looking forward to that. Got to rail a bit of Brendan's deep run in the Super Seniors for the 2nd year running. He finished 28th, I want to say.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah, I think so. So very well done to him. I've got a feeling with players flying by me, that means that the mini main is on break. So I'm about to get absolutely steamrolled with all the players leaving the silver area that I showed you a minute ago. Which is I'm just gonna walk is the best way to go. Standing still is normally the worst approach. The best thing to do is actually just kind of go with the flow of the traffic, or hide. The other option is you nip in behind a pillar. If you nip in behind a pillar, there we go. Right now I'll be good.
This is APAT's Las Vegas studio here.
Yeah, this is what it's about.
This is what Simba's dad should have done in The Lion King, right? He'd have had a much better time.
Yeah. Seriously, should have worked it out. It wouldn't have been a problem in the slightest. But so saying it, and everywhere you turn, there's guys. I mean, on the flight out, there were poker players. Chris Sly was on the flight out with his family, who you might remember, good friends with Sam Trickett and playing high stakes games. He was out on the plane on the way out. Yeah. So and there was another guy that was on our plane on our flight who's a cash game player from Macau that comes out and just plays. He only plays one tournament every year, the main event. He said he's rubbish at it, but he just loves coming out and playing it. So he'll play cash for a couple of weeks, then play that. So we met him on the way out. But the trip out, the travel day out was a joy. Can't fault it. Met up with Adam Neal literally at the airport before I'd even checked in, and then pretty much with Adam for most of the trip out. Tom was on our flight as well. So shared a taxi with Tom to the hotels then. So I've been enjoying it, and it's great because you can just dip in, and see people as and when. It's brilliant.
Well, Adam's still in the Poker News Cup at the Golden Nugget. He's
on day 2, isn't he?
Yeah, I know a number of players have played the couple of the day ones on that. Not huge success, but Adam is one that has had success, and of course he's playing the main event this week as well. So we're hoping that we're going to be able to rail someone we know to a little bit of success, and that would be very nice indeed. Yeah.
What's the plan for the rest of the day,
Lee? All good. I'm having a chill day today. I've got a. Yeah, no, I'm going to head back to the hotel, do a little bit of work for a client that I need to get done at some point. So today seemed a good day to do it, to be honest, with all the guys playing the mini main. And then as some of them bust the mini main, I'll probably arrange to organise and maybe go out for a meal or something tonight, Sunday night. So we'll probably just do that and I'll have a chill day today. Then I'm on a kind of a hotel move tomorrow, and then getting heavy with the poker then from Tuesday for next week. So we'll see what happens.
Fantastic. Well, listen, guys, why don't we let Leigh get back to his Vegas adventure? We will, hear from you through the week. The guys will be following you on the Facebook and praying for a bit of success for you, right? We know it's in there. So touch wood. You got to run a card.
I've had a couple of bounties in the bounty hunter, so I've had a little bit of money back, so I'm okay. If I break the rest, that's so be it. Not a problem whatsoever. We'll see. I'm just going to say go with the flow. I'm going to play a little bit down the Venetian and down the Win next week. A couple of comps there that I want to play. So it might be stepping away from although we're moving into the horseshoe, it might be stepping away from the horseshoe for a little bit of where we play for a few days. Well, we'll let the main event sort itself out, because that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week. So it's going to be pretty hectic in here, I think.
Absolutely.
All good.
Leigh, just a question.
Lovely. All right. Well, enjoy. Oh, go on. Yeah, go on.
Just a quick one from Mr. 40. Late to the show, he said, did you get the opportunity to attend the Doyle Celebration of Life event this morning?
I didn't, unfortunately, because I was in makeup ready to do the APAT show. So that took a number of hours of my day to prepare for this guest appearance.
I'd go back if I were
you. No,
you.
Unfortunately, yeah. No, unfortunately, I didn't. Steve did post up about it, but there's lots of stuff going on regarding Doyle, and obviously a lot of stuff. They've got a new card room in the horseshoe, which is really smart actually, and a lot of work being done, as I mentioned, on upgrading this hotel. So I think you're going to see again, even next year, you'll see changes again. But I think what they've done is going to be up there for a little while, so I think you can go and visit and see the stuff that's there. And I know it was pretty rammed, so it was certainly a good turnout. As you would expect.
As you would expect. Yeah. Brilliantly. Well, listen, go off, enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully, we'll get to see you next Sunday night, all being well.
Yeah, fingers crossed we'll do it. We'll do this again next Sunday night, fingers crossed, and we'll see how we go. But enjoy the rest of the show, guys. Thanks for stepping in, Dan, and have a good week, folks.
Yeah, enjoy. Good luck, sir.
Cheers, Leigh. Have a great day.
Take care.
Cheers, buddy.
Take care.
Oh, there we go, guys. Leigh, enjoying Vegas. Dan, it was only a couple of weeks. You were over there yourself. What was your experience like?
Well, it was mainly work, a little bit of pleasure, but no, it was good. It was nice. I haven't been over to the series for nearly 10 years, believe it or not. So it was nice to finally get over. I have to admit, I got very lost in the horseshoe in Paris for the first day, trying to navigate these 2 card rooms back to back. But no, it was good. Poker was okay. I managed to play as much poker as I physically could for as many hours without physically cashing. I think I played the bracelet event the one day and finished like 30 from the money from 6,000 players, and then played an event at the MGM the next day and finished 4 from the money. So I played a lot of tournament hours for no cash, but the cash games were phenomenal. I played a lot of cash at the Golden Nugget because sadly jet lag kicked in, so I was getting only a couple of hours of sleep each night because I'd actually just flown back from Florida. So I'd done Florida with the kids and the wife, back in England for 4 days, over to Vegas. So I was not doing too well on the sleep, but the Golden Nugget was absolutely rammed and buzzing. They had their American version of like the LPPL out there, the Bar Poker Open, which is I say this to everybody, for like free poker, like pub poker, it was a spectacle. They all had American football shirts with their like card rooms or, like bar names on, and there was music, guys walking around with boom boxes. It was an incredible experience. And I mean, the winner of that won $100,000 for playing free to play bar poker. Fantastic. So like the infrastructure they've got there that they've built up is phenomenal.
Scale is huge, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it was you go in maybe with some preconceived ideas of what's going to be going on, and it just blew me out of the water. I've never poker's all about community, right? That's why we love APAT, whether we're the elite of the elite or anything in between. We love coming to APAT because we love the community, and this what they had there mirrors it, and probably and some. These from all around America, they're coming, they're qualifying for next to nothing, and then they're playing for ridiculous amounts of money. And as working in the media side of it, it's interesting. You go to these big tournaments and a player busts out, and our live reporters are having to ask the player's name because they're maybe unknown and they've just bust out, and it's all a bit awkward and uncomfortable, and people don't want to speak to you. Over there, some guys just bust out, cashed for nothing, and you tap them on the shoulder and ask for their name, and they want to give you the whole life story. They're happy to chat to you. It was just such a buzz. So, and it was good, right? Because I think a lot of people go to the series to play at the WSOP, and that's really important. But there's so much other good stuff going on in all the card rooms now. All these card rooms had so much money invested in them, well, since I've been anyway. And that there's options. There's always a game. I mean, I'm looking at today. We've got 7 tournaments at the WSOP. You've got the Poker News Cups going on at the Golden Nugget. You've got the Lips Ladies event that's played at one of the casinos on the day 2. There's just so much going on. It's just phenomenal.
The scale of it is huge. And, partially that's not just about organizers laying tons of events on, right? This story is all about the rebirth almost of poker post-pandemic. The numbers have just gone up and up and up. And, it's hard to guess, albeit I can see within Carl and John's fantasy poker group, we've been guessing, how many runners the main event will get. Hard to know what that number will be, but it seems highly unlikely that it won't break the overall record, right? Whether it's 9,000, 10,000, whatever it eventually ends up with, it's going to be a new record for the main event, $10,000 a pop.
Yeah, and it's interesting, because you think of us Europeans or anybody that's not in America, with the exchange rates and the economies changing. Back when I first went, the main event was actually five grand, right? Give or take sterling because of the exchange rate. And now for us, it's closer to 8.5. So it's amazing to think that the economy in poker itself, which is a weird subsection anyway, is booming in such a way that there are potentially 10,000 people that will play. And I actually think they could do 10,000 this year. I think there'll be 10,000 players that want to play it. I hope that the infrastructure they have in place can support it, because it's obviously been tested in some of these other ones. But yeah, I think it's amazing for us in the industry that we're all in to see that there is this boom and there is this disposable, because 85% of the players there are amateurs or recreational or whatever you want to call them. The fact that they carve out their time and that money to be able to go and do these things just is great for us as an industry as a whole. And I think it's just going to keep growing.
Absolutely.
And
Superb.
10,000, I'd love to see 10,000. I think if they could hit that number, wow, what a spectacle that would be.
It would be insane. It's not that far away, the main event. It will start this week, if I'm not mistaken, this coming week. And take a look at Poker Go. They'll be covering that from day 1A through the whole thing, all the way through to the final. It's so nice that we don't have the November 9, which carves the final off and sets it back by a couple of months, where everybody gets coaches and what have you.
And then just plays 10 times worse. Yeah, absolutely.
Plays basically 10. It completely loses the momentum of the event. So it is the piece de resistance in the poker calendar every year. Now, Dan, we're going to try a couple of new things tonight, right? We're in the vertical format. Allows us to play around with a few things. So why don't I do this first of all? So this is the Facebook group. So why don't we do a bit of housekeeping, have a look through the top few posts here, see if there's anything we need to quickly talk about. This is Carl. Carl, go the snapper, right? Brendan Byrne going deep again in the Super Seniors. Incredible performance by Brendan, having done similar the year before. What a player. We're blessed actually to have a lot of very experienced, a lot of very good poker players playing APAT. Some of the players that you can play with here have been doing it. What else have we got? So top 10 continues, guys. I don't have an update this week. I guess we'll be short on some of the higher quality updates, seeing as the higher quality staff are currently in Las Vegas, having a well-deserved break, I have to say.
No, surely this means I just get to choose who wins. Is that not how it works?
I don't think so. I think the points still count in the normal way. But what I'm lacking is maybe a little visibility as to who's in the top 10 right at this moment in time. Hell, I can't even get my laptop to turn on at the moment. Terry Hyson says, is there an update in the T-shirts we won? So, the T-shirts should all have been sent, right? That's the message coming out of Gigi. But I would suggest, if you haven't been sent one, to send an email to the email address that you had to order it, right? To pass your details on. But the word from Gigi was that they'd all been processed. So any queries, just pop it through to that email that you'd had previously. But, feel free to absolutely share on the forum. Ashley Grego, so hi everyone, was wondering what kind of live events you go to and whether you're based in England. I'm looking to play cash and the occasional tournament if the buy-in is small. So Ashley, welcome to APAT. We have a wide range of events. If you want to see what we're doing this season, crikey, I think that might be an understatement. Just go to apat.com, and if you look at the tournaments page, you will see exactly what we're doing. But there's a ton of poker running locally, almost within every town and city across England, I would say. Eddie, so Di made day 2 with 52 big blinds. So I assume, and I might be wrong on this, that she'll be playing tonight. So if you're out there, Eddie, let us know how she did on day 2, right? So I'm not entirely sure about that, but that was coming in a couple of days ago. And this is Steve's post on the Doyle celebration event that took place earlier on today. So I think that's the APAT update. But more interestingly, perhaps, let's do this. More interestingly, perhaps, Dan, if we go to Twitter.
Well, be careful. If you might not be able to read any posts after Elon Musk decided that we could only see like 10 a day or whatever it was.
I know. How bad is that? How bad is that? So listen, this is the moment. Let's see if we can rewind this. That Phil Hellmuth,
the man.
Yeah, he's won his 17th bracelet. Absolutely sensational. And it was a turbo event?
The 10K turbo bounty event, which, how can I put this politely, is probably the highest of variance that you'll find at the WSOP. And interestingly, paired with Phil Hellmuth's white magic style of poker, I actually saw an interview that one of our guys did with him just after he'd won. And he was talking through 5 or 6 minute interview, talking through hands and sort of, exciting bits of the last maybe 2 or 3 hours of the tournament. And he was down to 2 big blinds, folded for his final 2 big blinds, and then hit a 3-outer, won a flip, won another flip, won another flip. I mean, the guy's got 17 bracelets, so we can't say too much in a variety of variants. But this one is the most interesting to me because it was probably the toughest field he's ever played in. There's been a lot of talk about him not winning in like super high rollers and these bigger buy-ins. And I think, albeit this only 10K, it's definitely one of the harder fields that he'll face. Yeah. But Lady, variance was on his side. And so, it was a really interesting tweet from Matt Hunt, the UK pro that's affiliated with Matt Berkey and all of those, that group. And the tweet, and it's not verbatim here, but it reads something like, I just feel like Phil Hellmuth is running at 0.1% of the top of his range for the last 17 years, which maybe is like a link to his opinion on how well Phil plays poker, but you can't knock it. The guy's got 17 bracelets now.
Astonishing.
And, he's certainly very good at navigating these large field, varied skill set MTTs. So, kudos to him. And, for all of us in poker media and in the industry, it's a great story, right? Yeah. It's such value. It's great to see, and love him or loathe him, he's a character. So let's hope he can get to 20. I think if he can get to 20, that would be astonishing.
Astonishing. Well, I think we all got the Poker News email this evening, and you've got it all in caps there, breaking news. Phil Hellmuth wins his 17th gold bracelet. The GOAT does it again. And like him or loathe him, he is news. And his record is astonishing, considering all. Right, I've got a tricky one for you, young Dan. Brad Kibel Roden, and this thing hasn't got a lot of responses. That's not the point of it, but he just makes an interesting statement. Martin Cabral, right? So Cabral's been targeted with allegations that, you know, he has cheated. So Brad goes on to say, look, Martin Cabral is bad sport, unethical, poor etiquette. Yes, I agree. But is he a cheat? I'm not sure. Where's the proof? Why do the players say nothing through the entire tournament? Then after they lost, they call him a cheat. Where's the proof he cheated? Now, there are lots of other people talking about this, right? It's easy to pick out Brad because there are no responses to this. So it's a relatively low-key post. And I think it's right to do this as low-key. But, you know, I think the reality is that a number of players were talking about Martin during the most recent event that the allegations arose. And this seems to have wound itself through to the point now that several people have received legal notices where he intends to sue them, I guess, unless they have proof of this alleged cheating. Not necessarily good for the game. I thought Cabral was super interesting to watch. I did watch some of the, what was it, 250K high roller?
High roller,
you know, which is absolutely sensational game. I think he finished third in the end. He's won something similar in the past. I mean, what do you make of the whole thing?
I think it's very layered, this. I think the one thing to be mindful with Cabral is Cabral's been playing poker on and off. It's not his profession, but he's been playing it on and off for 10 plus years. Speaking to people in the media, his table antics are the same in a €300 buy-in at Kings at Rosvadov as they are in the 250K high roller. He still does the talking. He still stands up and leans over and does all these things. And if the accusations are to be thought to be true about the card marking and so on and so forth, and you're led to believe that because of him standing up, looking over, trying to, you know, get a reflection on the cards, etc., as people are saying, does that then mean he was doing it in these 300s back in the day and so on and so forth? I doubt it very much. I just think that's the way he is. I know from speaking to people that, or my understanding, I should say, is that he is on the spectrum at some point. So a lot of these things he does aren't, and he covered this a little bit in his interview with Doug Polk. A lot of the things he does aren't necessarily, he states, intentional. They're just things he does to, you know, be comfortable. Similarly to someone that touches a door handle 5 or 6 times before leaving a room, and, you know, these obsessive compulsive behaviors. And he's kind of come out and touched on that as well. So there's some recourse to why these things are happening. But the big thing for me is we're at the WSOP. You're playing the biggest buy-in pretty much that you can see. It's streamed on PokerGo. It's streamed into homes all around the world. Would you use this as your opportunity to cheat, but, you know, by trying to mark cards? And secondly, the floor staff check the cards after the session. Not a card. I've heard nothing about cards being marked, and you would think that, you know, if there was any proof to those claims, and they would come out and say, you know, these cards have been marked, etc., etc. But, you know, they check these decks after every stream. Decks got changed multiple times. I've heard nothing to say that, you know, these finger impressions were lasting and this, that, and the other. So, you know, is he good or is he bad for the sport? Well, it depends what side of the coin you're on, really. Yeah. From a media side, I think he's great. He's column inches. Personally, someone like Will Kassouf versus him, I'd take him every day of the week. I've not had the pleasure of playing with Cabral, but I've certainly played with Kassouf over the years, and he was tedious. But, you know, what else don't we know, I suppose, is the next part. Dan Smith and people like that aren't the sort of person just to come out with outlandish claims, I don't feel, because they feel upset that they've lost a poker tournament. They're well-versed professionals with millions and millions of dollars in cashes. So it'll be interesting to see. But the fact that he's decided to start legal process with some people for sort of mudding his name, for want of a better phrase, he must feel that there is nothing there. There's been no evidence shown. So I don't know. I mean, for me, we'll sit back and see what comes out in the wash, but I don't feel like he did anything particularly against the rules. I just think he is a character that most people probably don't enjoy playing with because of his antics. So,
and I guess that's the question here, Dan, right? The question might be, and this has been, mentioned by one or two of the players involved, that even if he isn't cheating, which is an interesting statement to make on the back of he's cheating, right? To then say, well, even if he isn't cheating, he's giving the suggestion that he is cheating, and therefore he's antagonizing people just by pretending that he's looking for markings on cards and stuff like that. So he's trying to create an edge in that way. And there's no doubt this guy is super sharp, right? He, I saw him at that final table pick on, I can't think of the guy's name. Kulev, yeah, the Bulgarian player, right?
Yeah.
And he, he made friends with him initially, and then he continued to rub him to the point that, Kulev, was just starting to impact him, albeit I think the player reacted pretty well. But, that isn't necessarily, might not necessarily be in the spirit of the game, but it isn't against any rules that I'm aware of. An interesting character. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Watch this space over the next few weeks, I guess. There will be column inches aplenty written on this.
Yeah, I think from my side, if the guy's playing $300, $400, $500 tournaments and, these regs that grind those stakes to try and make a living, find him obtuse and difficult, maybe there's something, but he's playing in the super high roller. This guy is not a professional poker player, and he's stumping up, or maybe his backers are stumping up, but somebody's stumping up, $250,000, and he's going against the elite. If you consider yourself a professional poker player like Dan Smith and all these others, really, and you're willing to put all that money, you kind of got to deal with what's going on in your workplace. If we go to work, Des, and we have to encounter somebody that we're working with who is an absolute pain in the arse, we can't just throw our toys out the pram. We have to deal with it, right? And they're there to make money, and it's ridiculous amounts of money at that. So I feel they should probably have enough in their own tool belt to be able to deal with something like that.
And you would say at a $250K buy-in, $250,000, this guy is not, he's not sat with recreational players who've never played the game before in a live environment or anything. He's sat with the creme de la creme of either top pros or seriously experienced business players.
And also, you've got to look at the accusations. A lot of his accusations were about that he takes the full 30 seconds on every decision and this, that, and the other. And then I think to myself, well, is it Volkansov, the guy that takes forever and a day that they keep calling the clock on? The German pro that puts his big hood up. The guy that puts the scarf around his face and the hood over.
Yeah.
He's been doing that for donkey's years, and he's still welcome in all the high rollers. And he's on the skill level probably an infinite amount of times better or well-versed or well-respected in those kind of fields than what Cabral is. So they let him do those things with not too much kind of accusation. But for Cabral, it's a different story. They just don't like him. But, it'll be interesting. I don't think he's going to play many events, so I don't think we're going to have too much to worry about. But whatever he did has worked, right? He came third and made $1 million or whatever it was.
That's what it's all about. Right, going back to events, and you briefly mentioned the Poker News Cup. I mean, pretty sensational numbers. The guys back at base must be blown away by this, right? Over 2,300 runners, 2.2 million in the prize pool. You've got a lot of really positive publicity for this event over the last couple of days. What do you think? What's your view?
Oh, it's phenomenal. So we had already so last year was kind of the first iteration at the Nugget, and we broke the players that we had last year, we broke that record on day 1B, so the popularity is phenomenal. I think, mystery bounties are always exciting. You can see the TV setup there. So that's Guerrilla Gaming, who are kind of streaming all that for us. We've got, you might not be able to see it on that screen, but we've actually got the sweat cam. So there's a table set up in the back where the TV tables are. And our team are there doing the sweats on the bounties. So literally the bounty pull is projected on those screens at the top. So players that are somewhat close can see the bounties being pulled, which is, I think, really interesting. Yeah. The Nugget have been phenomenal. So they have guaranteed 9-handed poker for the whole thing, and they keep tweeting it. If you follow their tweets, you'll see playing again today, guaranteed minimum, maximum 9-handed, even though there's been a huge amount of interest, nearly 2,500 runners. They're still keeping it 9-handed. They're not increasing it to 10-handed to fit bums on seats. They're trying to keep the essence of what this tournament is. We've got giveaways there with like spinning wheels and so on and so forth, where people can win prizes. And again, I roll back to the Golden Nugget, which is probably a card room that is in Vegas has probably been looked down upon a little bit, I would say, with all of the other stuff going on over the last 10 years. But oh my God, what a job they're doing. Yeah. They've bought into this. So the dealers have had these Poker News Cup t-shirts on since weeks before the series started. Promotion, there's
TV smell now. They're going to smell now, Dan.
Oh wow, yeah, I think we gave them more than one. I hope we did anyway, otherwise that's terrible. They've supported the podcast stuff we're doing, the Chad and Jesse show that just had Daniel Negreanu featured on it last week. We've had Joey Ingram on there. Like everything we're doing, they're so bought into, and everything they're doing, in return, we're buying into. And I think they see the benefit in the relationship. We see the benefit in the relationship. And I mean, 2,300 runners is phenomenal, but obviously next year we'll just look to go bigger. I mean, 2.2 million prize pool whilst the Colossus is going on. The mini millies going on. That's
mini main.
The schedule insane. Wasn't particularly the best, I don't think, potentially, but it just goes to show how exciting it is. So yeah, we're really proud. We're really excited. Hopefully, some of the UK guys one of them will bring the title back. Obviously, I know that Adam's still in. Yeah, he's picked up a bounty. I don't know what it was, but he has picked up a bounty. But there's some other interesting Brits still left in. I was having a look earlier. So Chris Maguire, the Hippodrome Pro, John Kelly from London, who's been around the block for a long time. He's still in. Alex Lindop, who's won a bracelet 5-6 years ago now. He's still in. Ben Farrell, Tom Hall, who was sadly in the news for something not so good recently. Hendrik Gaethje, Jack Salter, Mark Foggin. Like, there's loads of Brits out there having a good time. So yeah, we're really proud. We're really excited, and hopefully it'll just be bigger and bigger next year.
And for any of our guys who wants to see this, complete, Dan, live stream is available via pokernews.com. Just hit the old live event, the little red button in the top header, and it will be sat there alongside the World Series of Poker as an event that you can click through to.
Absolutely, yeah. So Guerrilla Gaming are hosting the live stream for us. So I think from day 3, the feature table goes live. So that'll be tomorrow. So yeah, you'll be able to go on. If you go on to pokernews.com, you'll see the Poker News Cup Golden Nugget tab at the top. You can click on there to watch the live stream. It will be available on YouTube and all of the social platforms, and you'll be able to follow along. And there'll be a feature table every day, and then the final table will be streamed. And there's a really big shiny trophy as well for it.
Oh, so, can't beat a big shiny trophy. Have you seen Dara's posts? Friend of the show, Dara, right?
I know.
But I'll just take us out of the way there so you can see the beauty of this. So every day he puts a post on Twitter with a new shirt, and they generally state something along the lines of, well, yesterday's shirt was very unlucky, so I'm going to try this one today, with a large assortment of patches and all sorts of lucky charms and what have you attached to it. He never shows his face in these carefully constructed pictures. Is that a picture of David Lappin I see on the wall above his bed?
Haunting me. Lappin just haunts me wherever I go. But what's interesting is
fantastic.
I've stayed in many a hotel in Vegas. They all have irons in the room. Yeah, I've never seen one of his shirts ironed. So, I mean, maybe he would have a bit more run good if he didn't have so many creases going on.
Absolutely.
But to be fair, it probably doesn't matter the amount of patches he's putting on them. He doesn't need to iron them, right?
Absolutely right. What would I say? The sartorial eloquence perhaps is not what it might be. Some of these shirts are spectacular, but you just have to love Dara. What a great little sort of method of just getting his logos out and stuff like that. Which at the end of the day, Dara's very good at supporting his partners, and that's what he's doing there, right? But he's found a lovely, sweet way to do it.
If you have a look, I don't think he's actually got any Unibet ones with him. I think that's added on there after. Yeah, if you look at it, it's just been added on.
You're joking me, really?
No, let's move our heads up. Look at that. That's not a patch.
Oh, you're right.
It's not a patch.
Can't have gone out without Unibet once he just signed a new 14-year deal.
I know, right? Well, obviously they just think maybe they weren't thinking of re-signing him. Maybe it was a whole David De Gea thing where like they're letting the contract expire and we'll deal with it next week.
Absolutely fantastic. Right, listen, what do I have for you next? All right, this is interesting. Alex Duval, right? So Guy from the $2 table says he's considering trying $5, $10. Dealer tells him he should try as long as he has the bankroll. Players aren't any better. They just have the bankroll. Lols. Well, what are your thoughts on that, actually? So obviously, tons of cash games going on in Vegas right now. A myriad of bankrolls, a myriad of abilities. Guys playing 2-5. Obviously, dealer who's been, dealing cards to all sorts of levels says, yeah, give it a go if you've got the bankroll. What would you think?
Well, again, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, this one, because I think the first thing is this is a dealer telling you that, and the dealer's dealing, he's not playing, so I'm not sure what that tells us about his necessary kind of knowledge on the situation. I mean, some dealers are very good players. I've met many that can play the game, but I'm not too sure I'd be listening to too much. But I would agree in what they say during the WSOP specifically. A lot of people come to enjoy the WSOP. They may come from business backgrounds, etc., and have money to spend. Yeah. And those people aren't going to play your 1-2s, your 1-3s, your 2-5s if they can play 5-10, because that's where the money means a little bit more to them, right? So I would argue that potentially 5-10 is softer than 2-5. To be honest, my experience of playing at the WSOP, and I've played maybe only one session of 5-10, it's much more than I'd want to play poker for, but 2-5 is actually quite tough. A lot of the regs will play 2-5, whereas 5-10, and even like I played at the Nugget 1-2 uncapped, which is great. I've never heard of an uncapped game before, but that was phenomenal. Being able to sit down with $1,000 at 1-2 and have the biggest stack covered, which is obviously a very strong strategy if you're looking to make money and apply pressure on people. That's where you make your easier money in the games. But there's a lot of money flying around when you're in Vegas. So yeah, potentially is 5-10 tougher? I don't think so. Is it tougher for the other 11 months of the year? Potentially. Yeah. But during the WSOP, you've got the influx of non-poker players, right? So get in there.
Get in there, have a go. But I think the key couple of words to pick out of that was if you've got the bankroll, right? So you don't want to be sitting down and losing what you can't afford to lose. That is always the rule. A guy who's out there that we've already mentioned actually earlier in the show with a $1,000 buy-in to the mini main, a bit of a legend in the UK, Phil the Tower Healed, playing the mini today at the World Series of Poker, courtesy of Grosvenor. In 2004, I bought the Super System on my first visit here, and I had it signed by Doyle. Sad that he isn't with us anymore, but I'm using it as inspiration. So, how cool is that? Where is it? There, I guess. May all your deals be good, Doyle Brunson. So that is cool, and fair play to Phil. I don't know how many events, but they awarded him with a buy-in and the trip to Vegas. Well deserved it is for having sort of covered all of the GUKPT events. He's never missed one, and I suspect the GUKPT has been it's been running 15 or 16 years. Mm-hmm. I don't know how long they've been live streaming it, but many years, right? So top professional is Phil, does a wonderful job streaming poker. It's been great within the UK game, and let's hope he gets a bit of a run at the mini main. Wouldn't that be so cool?
Absolutely. I mean, firstly, it doesn't look like that book's been read. There's not a crease on the page, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure how much that will help him. but no, I like Phil. So I've had lots of interactions with Phil over the years, and I think he's really good for the game, and he's a really good link to the seasonal fan. I feel like if you listen to his streams, obviously he streams with Jay Harwood, who's a professional poker player and very good. Phil makes no bones that he's not the most knowledgeable on the depth of the game and strategy and so on and so forth. But oh my God, isn't he brilliant at bringing in that casual fan or that, that sister or that brother or somebody that happens to be on the stream and really engaging with them and making them feel part of the poker community. And I think that is a really tough thing to do. And it's a big thing, and it certainly helps grow the game. And I think he's one of the big reasons that the GUKPT, even with everything else that's going on, they've been able to stick to their guns, keep producing the kind of similar product year after year and be successful. So, he's a massive asset, I feel.
Fair play. Can't argue with that at all. And listen, talking about the good guys in poker, of which there are many, right? We talked about one or two bad eggs. There are always one or two bad eggs. It was pleasing to see. Let me just switch back to this.
The main man.
Yeah, Robbie was on the stream just a few weeks back. He was telling us about the Mixed Games Festival, I think number 5, that has just kicked off in Vegas. And, fair play to him. He's out there sort of, grinding, as it were. He's got his T-shirts. He's got his logos. He's talking to everybody's tweeting. He's turning up. He's working hard. He's working hard to develop something. And it is a Mixed Games Festival. And, of course, we are big promoters and supporters of mixed game poker. So if you are really seeing this, if you're out in Vegas, if you're planning to visit over the next day or two, then if you want to play some mixed games cash, go and see Robbie, right?
Yeah, and I think the thing to be mindful, some people get a bit worried and confused when they see the blind levels of mixed games and so on and so forth. So I've never got to play in any of his stuff. Me and Robbie always seem to miss each other. Although I'm very fortunate that I've always got friends and stuff that are around, and a lot of the Poker News guys we all love our mixed games over there, and we play it. The guys will play a lot of these. I've actually got Tom getting me a hoodie this year. I've got one of Robbie's T-shirts from one of the years before. So if you want to try mixed games, 4-8 might sound like quite high stakes, but it really isn't, because it's limit poker. And a lot of these games are multi-street but capped betting on each street. 4-8 kind of plays like 1-2, 1-3, I would say, give or take. So, if you go and play the lower end of no limit hold'em cash games and you're willing to go and sit with $200, $300, $400 at a cash table and play hold'em, then you can do exactly the same.
Yeah.
$400 here is in essence 50 big bets when you get to the higher cap streets. And that's fine. You don't need to be sitting. You don't need to look at that and go, oh, in hold'em I sit with 100 big blinds, I need to sit with $800, $1,000.
Right.
You really don't. And the guys are always really welcoming. I can see in that picture Richie Robb, the Twitch streamers, sat there in the corner with the bleached blonde hair from last time. But there's a lot of guys in the industry that play these, and everybody that plays these wants to promote mixed games. Similar to me, when APAT put mixed games on, I'm a massive advocate for it. I love them. I think they're so much fun. And this is all about learning mixed games and falling in love with mixed games. So if you haven't tried them and you want to have a little go, the people will explain what's going on. They're not going to punish you if you make a mistake or do something silly. It's really an opportunity to kind of broaden your poker horizon. And I'll be honest, understanding how the strategies and concepts of mixed games is only going to be beneficial to playing hold'em, because there's so many transferable kind of skills, even though the strategy can sometimes be slightly different, so if you're there, give it a go. If you lose, don't blame me. If you win, you can, send me a check. It's fine. But
I think the only thing I would further add on Robbie's games is that, being welcoming, being hosted well is very much, par for what he offers. You saw the post there. It was all about the free pizza, but I also know they're doing like treasure hunts through the casino.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of added signed stuff and what have you that you can win just by turning up and, getting involved, right? Engaging.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, do go and try it. And interestingly, this next post that I'm going to show you, Dan, this is coming from Tyler Phillips, right? Me, right? A lot of poker players. If I win the main event, I'll be so rich, I'll never have to grind these dusty low buy-ins again. Meanwhile, you've got Greg Raymer, right, Fossil Man, who's landed another small stakes, $200, 10K sort of event. And, I guess the story here is that Greg just enjoys his poker, right? So ironically, we were just talking about Robbie's mixed games, and you go and you get the pizza and you get the treasure events and stuff like that. Well, Greg won the first mixed game festival that Robbie put on. So you actually get to sit with some pretty dusty pros, right? Some of the old guys, absolutely fantastic. And isn't it great to see a player like Greg Raymer continually promoting sort of those lower and mid-level tours, as he has done over the years since his main event?
Well, this is what a poker ambassador should be, right?
Absolutely
this is absolutely what it should be. And actually, what's interesting is he won that at Resorts, I think it was, and then the day after or 2 days after, he won the 10K Seniors event, which was like a $200 buy-in at the Golden Nugget. So he's actually won like 2 tournaments in Vegas, like back to back. And yes, they're small, but players want to play with big poker names. And it's interesting. I was going to sort of pose this question to you later, but I'll pose it now because it's kind of a good lead in. But Raymer was an amateur when he won. He was a qualifier. He wasn't a professional poker player. He won the main event. Yeah, absolutely. Same as Chris Moneymaker, an accountant, wins a satellite. And what's interesting now is when you look at the WSOP, if you look at the last 4 or 5 main event winners, and you look at the final tables of these main events, they're all really high caliber, big name pros winning it now, getting through these big fields.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, right? Because it's such a minefield of amateurs and Jerry Yangs and Jamie Golds and all these other people. But for the last 5 years, it's been monopolized by the upper echelons of the poker community. So when, for me, my question to you is going to be, do you think it's going to be an amateur this year that wins it, or do you think it's going to be another big name pro?
It's a good question. You'd have to say an amateur just based on the maths of the numbers, right? And the fact that it's Hold'em, so a little less skillful. But I have to tell you, I watched the 25K PLO final table a couple of days ago. I in and out of it, right? And there was a guy commentating alongside David Tuchman. Tuchman is brilliant, right? I love him. Super commentator, like him very much. But this guy he was talking a different language. He'd just got knocked out of the tournament, or he'd been knocked out a little earlier. Obviously one of the serious sort of pros, young guy. But his insight on how players should be, approaching their hands, given the visibility of hands as we were sort of playing it, was just unbelievable. So not only who they should be targeting, but their range. It was just like a different language to me. So I guess the question probably is, are the pros coming more to the fore now because actually the science behind the game has reached such a level that their edge is significantly higher, and that might be only 5%, 10. I don't know what a strong increase in edge is, but it's so significantly higher now than it was then that we're just seeing them come back, really.
Yeah, I have a theory, and I don't know how wildly correct or incorrect it is, but GTO's been around for 6-7 years now, and obviously the big pros live and die by it. And the interesting thing about GTO is it really only works if the person you're playing the hand against understands GTO, right? If you're playing a GTO strategy versus someone that has absolutely no concept of what that is and just goes on their own intuition, it kind of can fall short, in the vacuum. But because GTO is now wildly known, lots of mid-stake pros or even kind of like top-level amateurs study it, have an understanding of the concept. It's not going to be as exact and kind of drilled as these top-end pros, but they're still trying to implement this strategy. So then what happens is you have a larger percent of the field nowadays that have some sort of understanding of this concept, but are making mistakes, versus the big pros that have a better understanding and aren't making mistakes. And obviously there's a lot of filtering that goes on because one hand in a vacuum can go any which way with variance. But because there's more pros that have this greater understanding of it now, I feel what happens is this kind of middle proportion are trying to do it wrong, make a mistake, lose some chips. And then the bigger pros obviously have stacks where they can lose a flip, still survive, and can continue to do it. And I feel this is why now we're seeing WSOP main event final tables with 5 or 6 really well respected big names in the community pros making it, as opposed to 10 years ago when it was, one big name pro that everybody had heard of and then 8 chicken farmers from Arkansas, so I feel like this GTO kind of introduction and understanding has really lent more to the pros than it has to the amateurs, because lots of people are implementing it somewhat incorrectly. And the main event has a structure that allows a lot of hands to be played, and these little 1 or 2 big blind mistakes don't seem like a lot in that vacuum, but they certainly add up when you're playing 9 days of poker, as an example. So I feel it's going to be another big name pro, and I think it's going to be big name pros for time to come.
I mean, look, I wouldn't be sorry if the final table has 3 or 4, 5 big name pros. I think that would be amazing for viewing figures. But I can't help but think if we do get 10,000 in the main event, even 9,000, the odds are just stacked against those big name pros. But let's wait and see. It's going to be super interesting. A guy who we all respect, because you earn your respect in this game, right, based on results. Let's just flick back to Twitter again. Pads, right, Patrick Leonard. So if you're an aspiring player, learn to deal at home really well. Come to the World Series of Poker, deal, be polite, focus, get to the top quickly, and then learn from the best high-stakes players in the planet. 1 to 2 years of this, plus some study, grinding, and you'll be ready. That's interesting, right?
What do you think he got absolutely slated for this. Yeah. And I like Pads. I read a lot of what he writes. I've studied his coaching stuff. I think he's one of the best thinkers of the game. I think sometimes he goes off on these little kind of mental meanders and just posts them because that's what he does. Do I think that's potentially correct? I mean, I'm not Patrick Leonard, and he knows much more about this game than I do. And I understand kind of the rhetoric behind it. I think, what he's in essence is trying to say is, if you haven't got the bankroll and you can't start studying full-time and playing full-time to understand the game, then that is an option. Become a good dealer. Good dealers, we're begging for them around the world. We all know that the best dealers get picked up to WSOP, then they, maybe not the best dealers at WSOP, but you can play there, you can deal there, you can then go and deal at EPTs, Tritons, etc. So you get exposure to the best players in the world constantly, and you get to see their thoughts, and you get to have an understanding of the lines they're taking in the situations and the board textures and all these things. I think the one thing he's missing is, when you're dealing at these top end levels, I don't think you have as much time as he probably thinks to study what's going on, because you're focused in what your job as a dealer is, making sure the pot's correct, making sure all these little things are done to the best of your ability. So I don't think you have full focus on, you're not sat there just as a voyeur watching these players. There's more to it. But yeah, I mean, if you go back through history, there's a lot of good poker players now in the industry that started off as dealers, and that's how they made their way.
Dan, this isn't going to make an average player a good player, right?
No,
I don't think that's. I think perhaps what he's suggesting, or at least my interpretation of it, is that if you have the aptitude, if you are a natural, but actually you haven't had the bankroll, you haven't had the opportunity to prove it, while picking up a book is part of any poker player's education, playing is part of your education. I think what he's saying is, if you have the aptitude, if you have that certain ability, which few players have, but it definitely exists. If you have that, then another part of your learning experience might be just watching what's going on. And players have the capability of playing to a high standard, many tables, right? 5 tables, 10 tables, beyond, right? So that shows an incredible aptitude to detail and what have you. So it might be that there are a certain number of potential high quality players who would in fact be able to both deal and also just spot the sort of just the nuance of the game and actually learn from it. Now, you're not seeing the cards, right? You're seeing a certain amount of card detail, but nonetheless, you're taking a high amount of information in that you might not otherwise get.
Yeah, and I think there's lots of jobs in the industry that you can do that. Not to hail back to my company, but live reporting. I know a handful of live reporters that have gone on to be very, very good players playing at very, very high stakes. And I was speaking to a couple of the guys when I was in Vegas who they're passionate about mixed games, to go back to kind of the Robbie thing. And they've worked their way up within our group, and now they get to hand report on the highest buy-in mixed games events at the WSOP, because that's not an easy game. If you know a bit about poker and you're coming to the summer to live report, being thrown into a deuce to 7 triple draw or a 9-game mix, or it's not easy for a person that just knows a bit of Hold'em to do, right? There's a lot of nuance, there's a lot of things to think about. So these guys have kind of earned their stripes and are there now, and they've said to me, having to write these hands down in detail and then go back through the hand and transcribe it to put it up for the viewer to read. They've learned so much more about the strategy of these mixed games, and it's helped their game immensely. So, there's definitely other jobs and avenues within the industry that I think also will reap benefits. So you don't, if you're reading that and thinking, oh God, I don't want to be a dealer, but I have to be a dealer if I want to get good, not necessarily true. There are certainly other options, but yeah, I just think being around those players, being in that aura, being able to kind of, see what's going on real time and maybe have your own thought process about it, and then being able to go back and actually see the result and, write about it and understand it. They always say, if you want to understand something, you need to write it down, I know that certainly helps me. I've got pads of paper around here where I just write silly stuff down to try and get it cemented in this brain.
No pun intended.
Literally no pun intended. I've got pads on poker. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so yeah, there's definitely some merit to it, I think. So
yeah, let's see if we can get somebody who benefits and is able to show that benefit in time. But I thought a nicely positioned post. Yeah, he might have got stick for it. Fair enough. C'est la vie in the world of Twitter.
No,
but
absolutely.
It seemed well considered. Moving on, this is a slightly different one, Dan, but no less interesting. So this is from kind of England, right? So disappointed that the World Series of Poker has split the ladies' events between the rooms. So she points out the event is more about camaraderie, socialness, and it dampens the event that we aren't all together. So I think this is an interesting point, and or this might not necessarily have been the first thing that organizers would consider when putting together something of the scale of the World Series of Poker in particular, but also the ladies' event. It's quite a big event now.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of the merits of this request? I see Shane Schledger there saying, is that a big deal? What do you think?
I mean, yeah, I completely get the point. Absolutely. And if you're present at one of these ladies' events, or you go back and see, the big influencers that play them posting their pictures, this is their main event every year. Not for all of them, but a large percentage of them, this is the main event for them. They get to see other women playing poker. They get to feel part of a community, even by proxy, just by being sat at the table. There's loads of pictures of them all doing shots together, drinking, getting bottles of wine and passing it around the table, and having selfies with each other when they're knocking each other out. And I mean, even the last longer was 16K, which you'd have had to come, I want to say 7th or 8th potentially, to make 16K in this tournament. But the last longer from all these women that have kind of done it, I think it was a $500 last longer. 16K for the winner. So, there's definitely something about it. However, like you said, have the organizers really put that much thought into it? Probably not. They are sat there trying to organize umpteen tournaments at the same time with dealers, with staffing, etc. And sadly, this is one that maybe with a bit more foresight could have been avoided, but I would not be surprised if next year this isn't even something that happens. I think they'll learn from their mistakes. And look, if the ladies feel comfortable in this environment, and it encourages more women to play poker, then it's a good thing, right?
Yeah, 100% it's a good thing. And I have to say that, if we had an APAT event at a festival, of which we have many, and, I just got a sense that it felt like there were two different sort of events going on, different places, or different, feels to, parts of those, that single event, then I'd have an issue with that. Because I think the ladies' event, particularly right now when that game is going through, there's a lot of people trying to grow the ladies' game, which I absolutely applaud. I think camaraderie is very much part of that. I can see it. Natalie, friend of the show, gone out to Vegas, but actually has been talking about playing a lot of ladies' events over the last few days, and it is very much a case of, we went for dinner and we got a bottle of this, and we took selfies, and it was very much with that sort of vibe, which you don't really get that from the men's events. They're not men's events, but if you like, the open events.
Yeah, of course not.
Yeah, let's hope the World Series of Poker can put that right next year. If it was nothing more than an oversight. If there wasn't
absolutely
in it.
No,
fantastic. I have one more for you, Dan, and then I think we're going to call it a night, right? Sunday night.
Yeah, carry on.
So this is going back to our old mate, Robbie, right? So Robbie again, and I took this as our last sort of update because he posted before he left Israel, 3 to 4 days before he left to go to Vegas, about how excited he was. He just couldn't wait. Right, just can't wait. I think about it 24/7. Can't wait to go, and I'm going to play some events. But after 4 days of bullets missing the target, I just don't have the same confidence today. I'm done with tournaments this week. Back to the cash games. No results, unfortunately, except for still a happy guy. Don't be sad because it's over. Be grateful that it happened. Right. So a motivational line, as you'd expect from Robbie, super positive guy. But there's a lot of truth in this, right? And there's a lot of players in Vegas at the moment, both recreational players, first trip, experienced players, been there many times before, go with genuine expectations. And I think this is the beauty of poker, right? Almost everyone can have some genuine expectations.
Yeah, of course.
We learned about Paul from LPPL a short while ago. He won over $30,000, finishing 8th in his first event. Insane result, absolutely fantastic. But I guess the question here is, you just need to know when to stop. You just need to know when to roll back out of it, go and do something a bit different, spend a couple of days at the pool, call the family, do whatever you have to do, right? That's an important part of your trip to Vegas.
There's a lot to do in Vegas that isn't poker. And look, everybody goes with those aspirations. And this year I don't play as much poker as I used to, but I've been fortunate to go to Malta to play 10 events. I think I played, and went deep in all of them. Top 15% cash. I didn't make a cash. Had chips in all of them. Went to Vegas, played a couple, did the same. That's tournament poker, and you've got to really take a step back and appreciate the fact that you have these opportunities to travel to these great places and enter these events and have a go. And at the end of the day, if it's not your pure living, you're not there to make a living, you're there to enjoy the experience, then yes, it can be disappointing, absolutely, that you're not getting results. But again, and it was interestingly, Pads talked about it on his Instagram a couple of days ago. 15% of the field make the money. 85% don't. And you're going to be in that 85%, even if you're one of the best players in the world. A lot of times, if you are just absolutely the bang average, mathematically, you have to play 100 tournaments to get 15 cashes, and if you're a recreational like myself, Robbie, etc., and you're playing in these kind of large fields that are diluted with pros and whatever, you could do 100, 200 tournaments without cashing. Your 201st might be a 100k score because you have that ability. There's variance in all these things, but you're absolutely right. You're in Vegas. There's so much more to take in. You've got, the basketball that Leigh went to see with Natalie. You've got shows, you've got pools, you've got nice dinners. You've got to go and take, like Robbie says, take some positives. There's enough you can do there to fill your soul with goodness. It doesn't have to always be about that dingy card room. And, so.
Go and see the Grand Canyon guys. Hoover Dam, wonderful trip out. Maybe get on a helicopter. There's lots to do in Vegas, but I thought it was an interesting post. I thought, given how much he was looking forward to going, it must be so disappointing. It's missed everything, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, as a poker player, you can always find the negatives, right? Yeah. You can always find the negatives. Like as I said, I went to Malta and I just massive, I was one top 10 stack in every tournament I played by level 10, and then 16 levels to get through to day 2, and you lose a handful of flips, and variance goes the other way, and all of a sudden you're not bagging up, and it can get monotonous and tedious. But
it's just the way it is, guys. It's the game of poker. This is why we like it. So listen, Dan, fantastic having you tonight, right? And we did something a bit different, right? So it was really good to have you on. And when the APAT events aren't running on a Sunday night, and GT likes to run its own events on a Sunday night, then if we want to keep the Sunday night slot, then I think maybe we need to do something a little bit different. So this was interesting. Just one question coming from the chat box, and sorry to all of you guys we didn't get to in the chat box tonight. Good evening, everyone. But yeah, it was just an interesting one tonight. Mr. 40 just says, Des Duffy off topic. Liverpool got a good player in Dominic Bosley. Why can't Man United do business like this? I'm going to break my fantasy football rule and put maybe more than just Mo Salah in. That's so funny. Yeah, he looks like a good player, but United haven't they just bought Mason Mount?
Well, supposedly. I feel like that's going back and forward. Every time I read something, he's signing, he's not signing. I think he is. And
he'll be good capture. He'll be a very good capture. But Bosley is an incredible player. So I don't. That
Mason Mount earns a lot of money kicking a pigskin round, right? So I can't say too much. I have to work hard for my money, but
absolutely,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure he's fixing the problem that Man United have currently. It's a done deal. Okay, but I don't think he fixes a problem. He just replaces something that isn't performing at the moment. We've got Jadon Sancho. We've got players that can play in these positions, and they're just not doing anything. We need Declan Rice. Declan Rice is the signing that Man United need to be chasing. Him and Harry Kane, they're the two, I think, that will have the biggest impact in where our weaknesses lie currently. But we just don't seem to want to spend the money. And when we do spend the money, it's not smart. It's just desperation. So look, I think with all the additions that these other teams are making, I think Newcastle are going to be a big threat next year. I think Liverpool, the signings you guys have made have just been phenomenal. Little, but what additions to that team. The fact that Trent Alexander-Arnold now is potentially going to be looking at as a midfielder, not a defender. Yeah. Hopefully fantasy football keep him as a defender if that happens, because that would be good for points.
Well, he'll still be a right back, but in a very offensive when we're in possession.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he didn't he play in the 3 for England last week?
Yeah, he did.
And probably one of his best games in an England shirt.
Yeah, 2 games. Assists in both. I think he scored a goal in the first one. Looked good. But I think Liverpool, when they're offensive now, they have a box. It's like there's 4 players, 2 a little bit defensive. That would be Trent and probably Fabinho. And then two more offensive. And that would now be this Hungarian player that we've just bought, and
the one that we can't say the name of, that guy.
Sabozlai, I think, but detail. We'll see what he's called on the first match of the day. We'll go with
the hungry Hungarian, that guy, yeah.
But yeah, you're right about United. It does feel like they're plugging gaps at the moment. I think you're going to need the new ownership to come in before that begins to sell, because it looks like the manager has all of the potential. But he's still fighting with the likes of David De Gea, and it just doesn't end.
Well, this De Gea deal's ridiculous. I couldn't get my head around it because of a lot of it was going on when I was in Vegas. But they reduce his contract, they get him to agree to it, then they let it expire.
Yeah,
and they don't renew it, and now they're saying they're going to renew it because they can't find another goalkeeper. If you're Manchester United and you can't buy a top 10 goalkeeper in the world, there's a problem. There's a big problem, and yeah, I don't know. De Gea has his moments, but I don't think he's the biggest problem we've got. I think there's 10 players in front of him that all need some sort of improvement, or 10 positions, should I say, that need some sort of bolstering. But but we're one trick ponies. You know, that's what we are at the moment. Sadly, we can only counter attack, which is so. Yeah. As a Man United fan,
it'll take a while though, right? I think Ten Hag's on, I think he's worked near miracles.
Oh, he has, but I think
18 months.
Yeah, ago. Of course. I think the issue for us is the player pool that we have lends to a counter attack, right? We have a lot of pace. And we have a lot of players that are kind of what I call utility players, like your Freds and McTominays, that can kind of do some sort of defensive job. They're not going to set the world on fire. They're not going to transition play quickly and sort of break the line, but they're gonna sweep up what they can sweep up. I just feel like we need to start adding players that are different to this mold that we've currently got, to give Ten Hag more than one option, because it feels like we don't. When a game is taken to us, like when you battered us last year, we had nothing.
Did we?
We had, I think so.
What was that game? Remind me.
I don't know.
What was the score?
Somebody played some football and some goals went in somewhere. That's all I remember.
Lots of goals. Lots of goals, Dan.
There was lots of goals. Not for us.
In fact, hold on, Dan. Let me just.
Sight of goal.
No.
Wonderful finish.
1-0.
Shaw was being careful not to handle it. Darwin Núñez.
2-0.
Salah turns and twists.
Gakpo.
3. Salah.
I couldn't go any further. I mean, I want to, but I can't. That wasn't a setup, by the way.
I was going to say, to be fair, if we kept showing the goals, we'd still be live next week.
To be honest, no, we'd probably get taken down very, very quickly. So I think we just had to immediately pull those. Otherwise, Dan, I would have shown all 7.
No,
I might have gone through them twice just to.
Oh,
but
no.
anyway, so further bad news. It does look like Rice is gone to Arsenal in a 100 and I think it's £5 million deal. I mean, that's an insane number, but he does look like a sort of player that be at your club for 10 years.
Yeah, and for Arsenal, that's just, they've had difficulties with Partey's injury pretty much all season last year, and I think that was kind of their one gap. Their squad depth wasn't as good as it could be, but yeah, they look scary for next year. I think next year is going to be exciting. Like, take United out of it. Just looking as a football fan, I think Liverpool, Man City, Newcastle look exciting. Yeah. If Brighton can keep hold of some of these players, they could be exciting. Arsenal look phenomenal. I think it's going to be a good season.
And Chelsea are bound to come back.
Of course they are.
They're bound to come back. All right. Well, listen, on that very scary note, that football could be very competitive next season. It'd be lovely, certainly for my club. It'd be lovely to come back and have a better one. I think we should call it a night, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you muchly, sir, for joining. It was
thank you for having me.
Fantastic. It was lovely to have Leigh from Vegas. Hopefully, he will have a good day ahead. We will hopefully catch up with him again next weekend. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. Good luck through top 10 leaderboards, etc. This week, all of the games playing as normal. And that aside, we'll be back with the APAT show on Sunday night at 10 p.m. So have a great week up till then, guys. Gute Nacht.